Welcome back. Gary Morrison is here to give us a United Mutual Finance update, and he has a lot of numbers to go over, don't you? As you always do.
I do.
All right, well, we're going to let you just start, and you let us know what's going on.
You all call when you get bored, and then I will leave. Okay, our income statement as of January the 31st, 2019, our total revenues were $3,517,000. Our expenses were $3,214,000. So we had revenue over expenses of $303,000. The income statement as of January 31st, we had net revenue over expenses of $466,000. United was better than budget by $466,000, primarily in outside services. And a lot of this was the timing of reserve programs, because when we budget for the whole year, but when you start out at the beginning of the year, it's going to look like you're better, and that'll offset towards the end of the year. Utilities and telephone, we had decreased water costs due to all the rainfall that we've had. We have some unfavorable variances that included materials and supplies, so we had additional purchase of plumbing tools, but there again, those tools then will be used all year, so that kind of works its way out also. Our non-assessment revenues were $149,287, and 38% of those were fees charged to residents. We had 24%, which was interest income. We had 15% laundry and 7% miscellaneous. Our total expenses, $3,214,267. 40% of that was employee compensation, 28% property and sales tax, 10% material and supplies, 7% utilities and telephone, and 7% outside services. So our operating fund, without depreciation, we had assessment revenues of $2,337,000, non-assessment revenues of $113,000. That gives us total revenues of $2,450,000, with total expenses of $2,305,000, and that gives us an operating surplus of $163,000. Our non-operating fund balances, we had beginning balances of $21,713,000. We had contributions and interest of $1,067,000 and expenditures of $910,000, so our current balance now is $21,870,000. Our balance sheet as of January 31st, 2019, we had a current month end of $79,858,521. Our prior year, December of 2018, was $77,982,230. So our balance sheet increase to date was $1,876,291. Our delinquency report for United, we had 22 delinquencies at $113,793. Our prior month was 18 at $105,494, so we went up 4 and we're up $8,299. We have one lien that needs to be recorded. We had 2 files that were submitted to legal counsel, 4 files with our collection agency, 6 files with NCB, and we have 1 lender for closure, and we have 8 that are maintaining a balance below $1,800, at which point we don't act till they get up to $1,800. We had chargeable services delinquency report as of February 25th, 2019. Our current month count, we had 20 at $121,785. Our prior month was 20 at $106,486. So we're up 15,299 from the previous month. Our resales as of February 2019, year to date 39, and our resales last year to date 44. So we were down 5 sales or 11.4%. Our sales volume as of February 2019 is 9,538,300. Our sales volume as of February 2018 was 12,073,640. So we're down $2,535,340 or down 21%. Now I've heard some realtors that were at our meeting Tuesday were very concerned because our sales are down. As I stressed at that meeting, sales are down all over the county, all over the state. So it's not something that's just happening here.
Yes.
Our average resale price this year to date, $245,230. Last year was $275,015. So we're down almost 30,000 or 10.8%. Our monthly leasing is at 9%, and that has stayed the same as previous months. We are currently putting together a study group to review the solar package and ascertain if United is receiving the monies they were promised by the electric companies. The group is comprised of Reza Bastani, Andre Tong, Sue Margolis, and Manuel. They will be setting their first meeting. They'll be electing a president, and we'll be delving into the contracts to see where we stand, what we've earned, what we haven't earned. So we'll see what we have to do from there. Next was a payment plan for chargeable services. There will be an administrative fee for repayment of monetary penalties, fees, or chargeable services, or for chargeable services. The undersigned will pay an administrative fee of $25 every month that the agreement is in effect, plus 10% interest on any outstanding balance. The undersigned will be responsible for payment of attorney's fees, costs, interest, late fees, and assessments incurred on the undersigned owner's assessment account before this agreement, and the undersigned's assessment account will be deemed paid in full. We had additional funding for a full reserve study. We have not had a reserve study for, I think, 6-7 years, and so it was deemed that one was necessary. So on February 28, 2019, the Board of Directors awarded a contract to Association Reserves to provide labor and materials required to perform a Level 2 reserve study at a cost of $50,000, authorizes a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $10 to be funded from the replacement reserve fund, in addition to the $40 that was appropriated by Resolution 01-18-120. We had issued that RFP for $40,000, but that reserve study came in at $50,000, so we were low, and that's why we had to approve additional funding.
All right.
Standard plan architectural review. We are at a point every month we're reviewing to see what plans that we can, or alterations that we can work into a plan where they're just automatically approved, so that we're not having to go through board approval all the time to save everyone time and money. Private caregiver policy. Private caregiver policy, we just passed that at the board meeting. And I'm going to read you the conditions for private caregiver that was approved. They must be 18 years old or older. Private caregivers must be registered with California Department of Social Services Home Care Services Bureau. Caregivers must provide a copy of a government-issued photo ID with an application. They must provide a copy of their driver's license, vehicle registration, proof of vehicle insurance with the application if he or she will be operating a vehicle within Laguna Woods Village. A private caregiver permit is approved for a period of up to 1 year. Residents are required to reapply for approval. The total number of persons residing in a unit shall not exceed the number of bedrooms plus 1 and no more than 2 persons in 1 bedroom unit. No more than 3 persons in a 2-bedroom unit. Each private caregiver shall not have been convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor involving moral turpitude, fraud, perjury, or criminal threats. The member is responsible for the conduct of the private caregiver and shall ensure that he or she complies with community rules, regulations, and policies. Upon approval by the board, the authorized designee will receive a gate pass, and that will permit them to access the community. It must be displayed on their car dashboard at all times, and the pass may include an overnight parking pass when necessary. Caregiver must wear in clear sight a picture ID at all times. Gate pass may not be transferred or lent to anyone else. Community facilities only as necessarily incidental to provide support to the resident. Part-time caregivers may use laundry facilities only for the residents' use only. Live-in private caregivers may use the facilities for their limited personal use and the residents' use. If the resident is absent from the unit due to hospitalization or other necessary medical treatment and expects to return within 90 days from the date the absence began, the caregiver may remain in the unit. Private caregivers are not permitted to bring family members or pets or guests into the community. They must submit their private care ID and vehicle pass at the conclusion of their service. They must meet all the applicable GRF requirements relating to operating a motor vehicle. Caregivers employed by a licensed home care organization, HCO, are required to obtain a business pass, and a person living in the residence is required to provide short-term care must obtain a 60-day caregiver pass. Anything beyond the 60 days must adhere to the private caregiver policy.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
And I understand that there was some discussion concerning the age. So how did everybody feel about that?
It was very mixed on that. Mm-hmm. There are several board members that were concerned that this is a 55 and up community, mm-hmm. and that we should not be having these younger people living here. Mm-hmm. The other side of it was that if that is needed for the people, that we need to provide it. Right. There are just a lot of back and forth, pros and cons, so I don't know that there's a right or a wrong way.
Yeah, well, I guess you have to give it a try, and then if it doesn't work out, you can make changes later.
Exactly. Payment plan for delinquent assessments. The United Governing Docs Committee requested changes to the draft plan. The payment plan is on a case-by-case basis, and the mutual is under no obligation to grant requests. Finance Committee voted to initiate an interest rate of 10% per year and a one-time administration fee of $50 per year. We also have a damage reimbursement administration. We were busy.
I guess. Well, you have pages.
Yes. So on January 21st, 2019, at Executive Hearings Committee, a motion was made and carried unanimously to recommend that the board approve a damage restoration fee. This is to impose a monetary charge as a means of reimbursing the association for costs incurred by the association in the repair of damage to common area facilities that are caused by a member or a member's guest. So the committee voted unanimously to impose a 10% reimbursement cost for anything over $1,000 in damage. Fumigation, we authorized a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $104,762 from the contingency fund, in addition to the operating budget. The original program was estimated at, which was budgeted, and now there are a number of buildings that we didn't figure that are requiring tenting for termites, so we had to give a supplemental appropriation of $104,762. Guarantors, it's in discussion right now. It's being rewritten because the board had several questions that popped up at our board meetings, so the next meeting will probably have a guarantor policy in place. Okay. United has purchased 20 dryers from Third because Third is going to coin operated, so we decided to buy them from Third if they're 5 years old or younger. And so we are saving about $600 per dryer by doing that. Yeah. I want to encourage everyone to get an HO6 insurance policy. This will isolate you from, I'm going to give you an example of something that just happened where some people had a flood, lived on the second floor. The water went down into the 2 units down below them. They all had to move out for like 6 months.
Oh, wow.
If they did not have insurance, and the cost was $300,000 in repairs, plus they have to pay for their hotel for that amount of time. So an HO6 policy would take care of all of this, and so I just encourage all of you to look into it. As I've said in every broadcast, I think for the last year, I have been into our, it's our sewer lines, and I've moved that up from 12 years to 6 years, and that was basically because 2 years ago we were paying $1.5 million for water cleanup. Last year was $1.1 million, and now we're on trend for maybe $800,000, so it's coming down. And then that extra money we can throw into the other things that we need.
Right.
I want to say that the Finance Committee now has an investment policy task force made up of Michael Cunningham, myself, Diane Phelps, Steve Leonard, Jack Connolly, and Greg Corigliano. We're in the preliminary stages right now. I want the community to know that our investments are our #1 concern. We want to make sure that we're working with a vendor who's giving us the best for our money. Funding for supply lines. We haven't really done a whole lot of advancement here because we did not have the expense that we had with Wasteline. So I've kind of was using that supply line money and running it over into the Wasteline. And so now that we're catching up on that, we're addressing funding for supply line, which is going to be starting this year. And the handyman program, we're at capacity. It's
so popular.
It's gone crazy.
It's wonderful.
So we don't have enough people to handle all the calls at this point. Electric panel replacements outside, we are trying to get into that also. It's all of this is just the necessity of having the funds to do it.
Exactly.
And basically, that's all I have.
Well, that was a lot. You guys are so busy. You know, I don't normally interview you, and so when I don't hear the report, but it's just astonishing to me how much money you guys have to go through for the community.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Well, thank you. You're doing a fabulous
Well,
job.
thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
All right, so don't forget that you can always get this report every Friday on this day. We'll be right back.